Hello there, welcome to another episode of World of Tanks with Engaging Titan. We're on Fisherman's Bay, and this time I'm platooned with Shady Sniper 101. We're both on Tier 29s and we're top tier. Fisherman's Bay is... I like the Fisherman's Bay. It's always a good map, it's always interesting battle, because there are really three regions that action takes place in. There's the port town on the eastern side. There's the village in the centre, which I think is one of the more important locations, because whoever controls the village to a large extent controls the engagement on this map. And then there is the western side of the map with that elevated road and the opportunity for flanking actions on the other side of the elevated road and the sunken ground on that side, which is essentially cut off from the rest of the map. Now, my initial thought was to head down into the town, but the early spots are showing up here in the centre, and I don't like pushing too far into the town too early in the game. You can get isolated in the town quite easily, and if you are caught in the wrong part of the town, you can come under flanking fire from the central area where the enemy tanks are being spotted right now. And they have the advantage because they can generally fire over the slope of the ground, over the curvature of the ground. So they're hull down, and you are in the town, and when you try and shoot back, you have to peek out from around corners and expose the entire hull of your tank. So it is actually difficult to dislodge them, and the advantage is on their side. It is better to engage those tanks up through the village in the direction I'm currently engaging them from, rather than trying to engage them from the western side of the town. Especially if there's also tanks on the southern side of the town as well. So I'm going to stick to this location, because the bulk of the enemy heavy tanks actually seem to be there. And the enemy also seems to have gotten the drop on us on the western side of the map, because we've sent little or no forces to that side of the map. There's a lot of our heavy tanks and medium tanks camping back at the baseline, and they haven't actually, they're not engaged with the enemy currently, nor have they made any attempt to secure the flank over around A1, A2, B1, B2, that direction. There's an enemy T-29 here making a run for the town, so I'm going to get a flank shot on him, and we take a nice little chunk out of him. And I thought that I might catch him crossing the street here, because he seemed to slow down. Now, I did have the opportunity, but I hadn't quite reloaded in time, so I didn't get the shot off in time, and he had passed into the next street. Fortunately, the light tank chose to come towards me, and I've been able to put the round into that T-29 and finish him off. However, things aren't looking good for the team. We've lost the mediums that were engaged against the tanks in the middle of the village. We're about to lose the western side of the map, I think, because they're pushing up very strongly on the western side. We've got through the town, but with the tanks in the centre are preventing the tanks south of the port from escaping and exploiting their position. So they can't advance towards the cap circle until those guys are got rid of. And they are in the enemy tanks in the centre are in an advantageous position, I think, relative to our tanks trying to leave the port. So I am the only one really engaging with these guys. So much so that they're actually starting to ignore me, and they've pulled back to engage the tanks trying to pull out of the side of the town. Now these guys are more of a threat, I suppose, in terms of strategically, because if they do get out and get into the cap circle, they can they can win the game. So it needs to be prevented. But it gives me the opportunity to commit completely to the village here, and I can come up and try and engage these guys. Now, that T-29 was my initial target, but I'm going to have to get rid of the SU-100 first. Preferably without getting hit by his 100mm gun. So we've gotten rid of the SU-100, and the T-29 does not seem to be aware that I'm here yet. So we now get rid of the T-29. And the Comet is heading towards the port, and we're going to get at least one shot into the Comet before he departs the scene. So I've managed to clear out that nest of enemy tanks. I'm not going to catch the Comet, and I took a really nasty hit there from the back. From some tank down near the base area. And the position on the west has collapsed, so I'm being flanked and surrounded. So I'm going to have to pull back out. Plus, there's always the danger of what that Comet is going to do in the middle of the town as well. So there's a danger the enemy are going to cap. So I need to deal with this VK 3602, was it? Yeah, and we managed to get a shot into him, and I think the artillery finished him off. Or somebody with a big gun finished him off anyway. Comet's disappeared from view. I don't know if it's been taken out or whether it's just dropped off of observation. But I am in a tricky enough situation here. There's a couple of tank destroyers, there's an OI, and there's in particular the SU-152. And the SU-152 is by far the biggest threat, and a tank that I'm just going to have to get rid of. I don't know what gun he has. He bounced a shot there off the front of my tank, which probably meant he was trying to fire armor piercing at me. If he had the top gun and was firing high explosives, I think he would have done considerably more damage. But I can't afford to take the risk, and I must get rid of him because even without the top gun, he can still do considerable amounts of damage, particularly if he's got flanks or rear shots. So we take him out of the game. The second tank destroyer has vanished, and there's just the OI experimental, which leaves me in a tricky situation because I don't know now where that second tank destroyer has gone. And the OI experimental has the capacity to do a lot of damage as well, again depending on what gun it's using. So I'm also in the risk of artillery getting involved again. So I'm pushing up beside the buildings so that I can engage with the OI, preferably without receiving too much attention from artillery. But now somebody's just driven through the cap circle, and it's the T-67 going after our artillery, so I want to try and save the artillery. I managed to remove most of the T-67's hit points, but I didn't quite manage to kill him, and the artillery's been taken out of the game. That leaves us a tank down. It leaves us a tank down. But I'm hoping now that I can catch the T-67 while he's still in the town. The town limits is to my advantage because the T-67 can't really use its maneuverability. It's got superior maneuverability and it's over me. It doesn't do as much damage, but the gun is pretty good and will penetrate fairly frequently if he uses it right. And as long as I can confine him to confined spaces or prevent him from shooting at me from long range where his view range greatly exceeds mine, then I have a considerable advantage here. We are down to just 2 tanks, and one of them is on a sliver of health and he's taking on the artillery way over there. And he's gone. So I've decided not to go towards him, but to actually head back towards my cap circle. If I go south, there's just too much of a chance that I'd be capped out by the OI and the T-67. So I better take out one of them. And I may have an opportunity to take out the OI before the T-67 arrives in on the fray. And if I can stick close to the buildings, I may be able to do it without the artillery if I can just find them. And that was the artillery. It was nicely done. Didn't do much damage, but completely tracked me. And the T-67 has reappeared to my south, and the OI is appearing to the west. That was artillery again. That was less effective, well off. And that was a decent enough hit from the OI, but the OI is coming after me hard. And he's presenting his flat side to me so I can get rid of him. Take him out, and the artillery missed again as well. And then the T-67 flips, he drives into some rubble and just flips the tank right in front of me, and we just take him out, no problem. So what could have been a very difficult situation has just resolved itself quite readily. So now it's just me and the artillery, and my biggest problem is that I don't really know where the artillery is. I mean, he was probably somewhere in the southwestern corner, but if I was him, I would be driving furiously towards my cap circle right now. So my thought was that I'd go into their cap circle and force the artillery to come out and come after me, so that at least I get an idea where he is before I decide what to do next. So far nothing has popped my sixth sense, and we're near the cap circle and we should get some kind of response once we go into the cap circle. The artillery has been reasonably aggressive towards those portions of the game where he had nothing else to distract him, so to speak, and he's been firing at me. So I'm now in the cap circle, and there he is, he pops up. So the trouble is I've of course got a damage gun, so it's almost as inaccurate as the artillery, and that shot missed substantially. And he's fired, so I'm going to go after him. No point in sitting here. Given the advantage of the artillery, I might as well actually try and corner him. As long as he stays there, it makes it easier for me, because the closer I can get, the less far he gets when he finally drops out of sight. Biggest dilemma is when I reach the road, will he have gone, will he stay where he is, or will he have gone north? If he's gone north, there's a moderate chance that he might actually make it to the edge of the map, that he could have gone over the road, the elevator road here, before I make it to the top, to where I can see him going over that elevator road. So we come over the top here, there's the hulk of the tank destroyer that was defending the cap earlier on, and stopping the progress of our tanks coming out, and there he is, he appears. So I just don't stop, keep moving. He wasn't looking in the right place anyway, and now can I get the ram in, turn, oh, no good. We missed. So he's behind me and he's starting to turn, so I need to prevent that gun from coming to bear on me. So I start reversing so that I stay outside the arc of the gun, and when he starts to turn, I'm in a position to fire and I shoot and I finish him off. So 3,500 damage, 864 assisted damage. We get a high caliber, first class medal, a devastator, top gun, and a steel wall. Quite a lot of ribbons, and I think we've done pretty well for ourselves here. Devastator and top gun for the 7 kills. We came number 1 by experience, and we've done quite a bit of damage even relative to the rest of our team. We also bounced quite a lot of damage. So, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please consider giving it a like if you did, and please consider giving the channel a subscription. Thank you, and I'll catch you again soon.